Hello, this is Melanie Guralnick, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the January 27th issue of the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier radio reading service. The first story is Lily. Carney denies early election, but grocery benefit and Trump clash stir debate, by Brian Lilly. He's handing out cash. He's provoking fights that get Donald Trump talking about annexing Canada again, and releasing campaign-style videos. But Mark Carney says he's not looking for an early election. The PM was asked about whether he was planning for an early election when he made his announcement about an enhanced GST rebate in Ottawa on Monday morning. Are you considering calling a snap election this spring? Mackenzie Gray from Global asked Carney. What we're focused on is solutions for Canadians, the PM said before not answering the question and going on to list all the proposals he has before Parliament that he needs the opposition's help with. So you're not considering a spring election? Gray asked again. I don't. You can't draw that conclusion at all, Carney said. Maybe because, in so many of his actions, it feels like Carney and the Liberals are looking for a reason to go to the polls early. With additional pushing from Gray, Carney eventually said, "We're not considering an early election," but it rings hollow. Davos' speech was aimed at Trump and Liberal voters. His speech last week in Davos was delivered to global business elites, but its intended audience was twofold: Trump and Carney's voting base in Canada. Carney knew that speech would anger Trump and spark a reaction, and he knew that reaction from Trump would fire up his elbows-up voting bloc, who carried him to a near majority last spring. When he returned to Canada, Carney delivered another speech steeped in nationalism and history. It looks like it was a dud in Quebec, where it has evoked anger. But it is a hit with Liberal voters swelling with Canadian pride in the face of Trump's insults. On Saturday, as Trump was posting about how Canada would face 100% tariffs on Canadian goods, the Liberals flooded social media with videos of Carney talking about the government's Buy Canadian policy. Now, he's announced Canada Groceries and Essentials Benefit, a repacked version of the GST credit. The credit is expected to go to 12 million Canadians and will see a 50% bump this year and a 25% increase over last year over the following 4 years. Yes, the Carney government knows groceries are expensive, so they will send you money to buy them. Grocery benefit, a quiet admission of economic failure. It should be an admission of failure, a sign that our economy is not doing well when the government needs to buy groceries for 12 million people, about 30% of the population. For those getting the payments, it's just a quarterly reminder to vote Liberal. Carney was denied a majority last April by just 3 seats. He has been trying to get that majority by enticing Conservative and New Democrat MPs to cross the floor. But he's still short by 1, and several of his MPs are looking at leaving, just as Chrystia Freeland already has. Why a spring election suits the Liberals. A spring election with the returned specter of Trump's 51st state comments, the ongoing trade battle and upcoming CUSMA negotiations, accolades from foreign leaders not based in Washington, fresh payments and bank accounts, all of this plays well for the Liberals. Canadians will hold us to account by their experience at the grocery store, Carney said last May, just after the election. On that metric, he is failing. Food inflation keeps climbing. In each month since he became Prime Minister, food inflation has been higher than core inflation. The latest numbers from Statistics Canada show that while overall inflation rose by 2.4% in December, Food costs were up by 5%, with beef being nearly 17% more expensive than a year earlier, and coffee being 30% more expensive. The same basket of groceries that would have cost you $100 5 years ago will now cost you more than $125. His solution isn't to address the many structural issues that have been testified to before Parliament. It's to hand out money. Fixing problems doesn't help win election quite like sending out money does. Expect an early election, and expect food inflation to continue to be a problem. There is a picture of Finance and National Revenue Minister François-Philippe Champagne. He's looking on as Prime Minister Mark Carney responds to questions from media. It's during an event at a grocery store in Ottawa on Monday, January 26, and both men are in front of a podium with microphones up. Mark Carney has his hands folded on the podium as he's speaking, and in the foreground are a hanging bunch of bananas. Yes, they're in a grocery store. Photo courtesy of Adrian Wild via the Canadian Press. That story was Lily. Carney denies early election, but grocery benefit and Trump clash stir debate, by Brian Lilly. The next story is Goldstein. New study highlights pay disparity between public and private sectors, by Lori Goldstein. Public sector workers in Ontario are paid higher wages and have better benefits than those doing comparable work in the private sector, according to a new study by the Fraser Institute that was released Tuesday. The report by the fiscally conservative think tank found federal, provincial, and municipal employees in Ontario were paid 7.9% more on average than their private sector counterparts in 2024, the most recent year of comparable data available from Statistics Canada's Labour Force Survey. Even after adjusting for union status, since a greater percentage of government workers are unionized compared to those in the private sector, government employees were still paid 6.5% more. In addition to higher wages, the Fraser Institute study, comparing government and private sector compensation in Ontario, found government employees enjoy significantly higher work-related benefits than those in the private sector. Big gap in retirement benefits. In 2024, 82.7% of public sector workers had registered pension plans compared to only 23.6% in the private sector. Almost all public sector workers with pension plans, 94.8%, had defined benefit pensions, which offer a guaranteed level of income and benefits in retirement, compared to only 37.8% in the private sector. Public sector workers also retired 2.2 years earlier on average than those in the private sector, and were absent from their jobs for personal reasons 14.4 days per year compared to 8.2 days in the private sector. Cushy job security. In terms of job security, public sector employees were nearly 6 times less likely to experience job loss than private sector workers, 0.6% compared to 3.5%. Public sector workers make up 19.9% of the total Ontario workforce, compared to 66.6% in the private sector, and 13.5% who are self-employed. Closing the compensation gap between the government and private sectors would reduce costs and help governments move towards balancing their budgets, said Jake Fuss, the Fraser Institute's Director of Fiscal Studies. All levels of government in Ontario, municipal, provincial, and federal, must find ways to reduce costs as spending and borrowing have continued to ramp up. That story was Goldstein. New study highlights pay disparity between public and private sectors by Lori Goldstein. The next story is Eglinton Crosstown LRT line to open on February 8th. Source confirms by Jordan Ursett. At long last, it seems to be all systems go for the Eglinton Crosstown LRT system. The beleaguered transit line is opening on February 8th, something Premier Doug Ford let slip Monday at an unrelated news conference at Queen's Park, where he told reporters he was advised of the opening date goal by TTC officials. "Thank God it's opening," Ford said. "They've done hundreds of thousands of kilometers of testing, and it's going to finally get finished. I'm happy it's done. That's all I could tell you because it's been a nightmare for all of us, I'm first to admit. But it's going to be incredible." Details of full opening expected soon. A source with knowledge of the subject, who requested anonymity, confirmed the date to Toronto Sun on Monday night, adding it was expected to be a full opening of the LRT system and the details are going to be announced in coming days. An email to Metrolinx requesting confirmation of the opening date was not immediately returned, while the TTC said that no date has been announced. TTC and Metrolinx continue to work toward an opening, and a date will be announced at an appropriate time, spokesperson Stuart Green said in an email. That story was Eglinton Crosstown LRT line to open on February 8th. Source confirms by Jordan Ursett. The next story is Warmington. Did Carney aggressively walk back Davos speech to Trump? By Joe Warmington. It's either Prime Minister Mark Carney aggressively walked back his much-praised Davos hegemony speech that economic giants use integration as weapons, and the old order is not coming back, to appease an irritated President Donald Trump, or he meant every word of what he said. It's one of those he said situations. Somebody is not telling the truth in this case of broken telephone, where the Canadian public were not invited and also not told about it. Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told Fox News that Carney aggressively pulled back his now famous World Economic Forum speech. However, the PM himself has doubled down. To be absolutely clear, and I said this to the president, I meant what I said in Davos, Carney said on the way into Parliament Hill Tuesday morning, while finally acknowledging the phone call with Trump that Canadians did not know about until it came out on an American news network. Carney said he also explained to Trump that, quote, "It was clear it was a broader set of issues that Canada was the first country to understand the change in U.S. trade policy that he had initiated, and we're responding to that." It has been reported Carney did not initiate the phone call. The PM added he explained to Trump, quote, "We are responding positively that building partnerships abroad, responding positively by building at home, and we are prepared to respond by building positively through the new relationship through CUSMA, which is the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement." And he understood that, and it was a good conversation. Carney then walked away from reporters and didn't answer any more questions on it. How Canadians learned about the call. All of this came to a head as a result of Bessent's appearance on the Sean Hannity show on Fox News Monday evening. "I was in the Oval Office with the President today," Bessent told Hannity. He spoke to Prime Minister Carney, who was very aggressively walking back some of the unfortunate remarks he made at Davos. The Canadian people were not officially told Monday of a phone call between Carney and Trump, and only found out when Bessent spilled the beans. Shouldn't every part of that call have been public soon after it occurred? Instead, it was kept secret. And it's even less clear where the relationship is at now. The Prime Minister's office did not release a readout of this call. The only way the public knew of this connection between the two leaders was because of what Besant told Hannity. As veteran Toronto Sun columnist Brian Lilley points out, every prime minister since Jean Chrétien has posted a readout news release with every world leader. Yet, Carney does not. Canadians have no say in what the president does or says. But if there was a call between Carney and Trump, considering what is at stake, the PMO should have released a readout to the public soon after the call. It's not a private phone call. What was said there is Canadian information that belongs to Canadians. Was it "Hello, Prime Minister" or "Hello, Governor"? Perhaps Trump will offer some clarity on how it went from his perspective in an upcoming Truth Social post. So many questions. Did Trump refer to Carney as Prime Minister or Governor? Is China Canada's biggest security threat again? No more spy cars pumped in next to America's border? No more net zero woke politics? Does this mean no more tariffs? Is Carney back on the Board of Peace invitation list? No more Chinese EV cars to be dumped into the North American auto market? Did Carney ask Trump for an apology for the president's lack of respect toward fallen Canadian and NATO troops' sacrifice in Afghanistan? We don't really know. Is any of what these leaders say real? Or all just for show? Should anything Carney, Trump, and Ontario Premier Doug Ford say or tweet be taken to the bank as binding? Each day there seems to be a different chapter. Premier and PM pizza party. Certainly, Carney did not mind the media covering his grocery store tax benefit plan photo op or his slice of pizza kiss and make up excursion with Ford. So, when there was a call explaining comments on a new arrangement of, quote, global governance and, quote, deepening engagement in public safety and security to protect our peoples, with China or the end of large players' hegemony, the public should be included, especially when all aspects of this heated spat were so public. Trump, who seems to not mention he made his own trade deal with Chinese President Xi Jinping in October, was not happy with Carney's handshake with the communists. If Governor Carney thinks he is going to make Canada a drop-off port for China to send goods and products into the United States, he is sorely mistaken, wrote Trump. China will eat Canada alive, completely devour it, including the destruction of their businesses, social fabric, and general way of life. The bottom line is any call the Canadian Prime Minister is part of, in a majority or minority position as Carney finds himself in, is public information that every citizen has the right to know about, especially when what is talked about affects Canadians' general way of life. There is a picture of Prime Minister Mark Carney and Ontario Premier Doug Ford when they met at an Etobicoke Pizza Nova on Monday. So they are both holding these little triangle-shaped boxes that I would think are for individual sliced pizzas. They're both in navy blue suits, and Doug Ford is pointing at Mark Carney in a kind of cute way, and Mark Carney is laughing. And there's a bunch of cans piled to the ceiling. Maybe it's tomato sauce. I don't know. Photo credit goes to Chris Young with the Canadian Press. That story was Warmington. Did Carney aggressively walk back Davos speech to Trump? By Joe Warmington. The next story is Sydney Sweeney's Hollywood sign bras stunt draws backlash by Mark Daniel. Sydney Sweeney is catching flack after she adorned the Hollywood sign with bras as part of a publicity stunt to promote her upcoming lingerie brand called Syrn. It's spelled Syrn. In a video first obtained by TMZ, Sweeney, 28, is seen making her way up to the sign as she climbs a portion of Mount Lee overlooking Los Angeles under the cover of darkness. She then laughingly drapes undergarments on portions of the sign. The Euphoria star also shared behind-the-scenes footage of the operation to her Instagram account that showed her and a group of associates loading black duffel bags into a van that drove a winding trail partway up the mountain before they all got out and made the rest of the trip on foot. At one point, after she unloads various lingerie items from one of the bags, Sweeney says, "I'm going to get caught at this rate." Once the garments are dangled across all the letters, Sweeney smiles and poses in front of the sign. What the Chamber of Commerce said. In a statement to Postmedia, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, which owns the intellectual property rights to the iconic Los Angeles landmark, said Sweeney didn't get authorization before filming her stunt. Quote, "The production involving Sydney Sweeney and the Hollywood sign, as reported by TMZ, was not authorized by the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, nor did we have prior knowledge of it," Chamber Chief Steve Nissen said. The Hollywood Chamber of Commerce owns the intellectual property rights to the image of the Hollywood sign, so that anyone intending to use and or access the Hollywood sign for commercial purposes must obtain a license or permission from the Hollywood Chamber to do so. According to TMZ, Sweeney did get a permit from Film LA to shoot the Hollywood sign, but she did not have permission to touch or climb the monument itself. On X, several accounts maintained the promotional campaign would have had to get the green light in advance. The minute you pass a certain area, alarms go off. The helicopters instantly take flight, one person wrote. It's like Timothée Chalamet saying, "I climbed to the top of the sphere." You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Another content creator shared footage of themselves making their way up to the sign, telling their followers, quote, "The alarms go off within 2 minutes of tripping those sensors." But Nissen insisted that the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce did not grant a license or permission of any kind to the production involving Sydney Sweeney as reported by TMZ, nor did anyone seek a license or permission from the Chamber for that production. The organization is now investigating how and under what authority, if any, the production accessed the site. Sweeney lingerie brand for every type of body. As video of her publicity ploy made the rounds, Sweeney officially launched Syrn on Tuesday morning with a post to her Instagram. Quote, "This is lingerie you wear for you. No explanation, no apology," the Christie star wrote in a caption that accompanied a carousel of images that showed her modeling the underwear. In an interview with Elle to promote the launch, Sweeney describes the first wave of intimate apparel as bold, confident, and unapologetic. "I wanted to create a world and a feeling," Sweeney tells Elle. "I wanted to build a lingerie brand that feels like it understands women instead of talking at them. Syrn is about confidence without pressure, feeling sexy, powerful, soft, playful, or all of the above, depending on the day. As the sole founder, my vision was to create something that lives in real life and doesn't hold anyone back." Sweeney also says that the brand is paying attention to the little details. Quote, "Boobs and bodies are like fingerprints. Everyone's are different, and I wanted to design for that," she said. Plastic surgery rumors denied. Last month, Sweeney addressed rumors that she has gone under the knife, telling Allure in an interview that she's never had plastic surgery. Let's debunk them all. I mean, I have never gotten work done, Sweeney said in a video alongside her The Housemaid co-star Amanda Seyfried, in which she selected a, quote, beauty rumor she wanted to debunk. I am so scared of needles, you have no idea. In a separate interview alongside Seyfried for Vanity Fair's lie detector test, Sweeney responded to a question that's been on everyone's minds recently. I just have to ask, are your boobs real? Seyfried asked, to which Sweeney responded, yes, I've never gotten any work done anywhere. There is a picture of Sydney Sweeney posing in front of the Hollywood sign. That was that publicity stunt. It's at nighttime. You can just see the letters LLYWOOD. She's wearing, it looks like almost black tactical gear. She's got a black ball cap on. She's got a black shirt on with something weird on the front, and her arms up in the air. She's got a huge smile, and you could see a bit of her midriff with low-slung black pants and then some white underwear peeking out. That must be her brand. Photo courtesy of Sydney Sweeney via Instagram. There is another picture of Sydney Sweeney as she's attending the 16th Governor's Awards in LA on November 16th of 2025. She is wearing a sweetheart neckline dress that's sequined in white, and she is very endowed in the chest department. Her hair is blonde and done in like a long Marilyn Monroe style, and you could see people behind her in the distance, and they're out of focus. Photo courtesy of Valerie McCone via AFP via Getty Images. That story was Sydney Sweeney's Hollywood sign bras stunt draws backlash by Mark Daniel. The next story is Mick Jagger's family searching for granddaughter's missing partner in UK by Ling Hui. Mick Jagger's family are appealing for the public's help after his granddaughter's longtime partner was reported missing in the UK countryside. Alexander Key, a 37-year-old chef and the partner of Jagger's granddaughter, Assisi Jackson, was reported missing in village of Boscastle in Cornwall on Saturday. Devon and Cornwall police say Key was last seen Friday afternoon at a local pub, with CCTV images later showing him walking past another pub in the seaside village in the direction of Boscastle Harbour toward the River Valency. Police launched the appeal after loved ones reported him missing when he didn't return home. 2 young daughters. Key shares 2 children with Assisi, 33, who is the eldest grandchild of the Rolling Stones rocker, and the daughter of jewelry designer Jade Jagger. The couple live in Cornwall, where they are raising daughters, Ezra, 11, and Romy, 6, the Daily Mail reported. Assisi's mother, Jade, 54, took to Instagram on Monday to share the photos of Alexander in a plea for help. Quote, Alexander is described as medium build, bright peroxide blonde hair, and normally wearing bright-colored clothing, the post said, which included a photo of Key wearing an orange-patterned jacket. Police later released a new image showing him wearing a red shirt and a blue anorak and black trainers. Police said searches and inquiries are continuing in the village and are urging anyone with information to call police immediately. There is a close-up picture of Alexander Key. He has like almost a yellowish colored hair from the peroxide, and it sits very tall on his head. He's got brown eyes and is clean-shaven. And then there is the other picture of him where he's seen from a CCTV that's facing the street and he's walking. He's wearing that red jacket. It looks kind of like it has Native American pattern to it. His hair is that bright yellow and really sticking up in this picture, and he's wearing what looks like jeans. Photo credit goes to Jade Jezebel Jagger via Instagram. That story was Mick Jagger's family searching for granddaughter's missing partner in UK by Ling Hui. The next story is Dear Abby, partner paying more to support man's grandsons by Jean Phillips. Dear Abby, I have been in a relationship for 7 years. My significant other, quote, Gabe, and I bought a home together. We are also raising 3 of his grandsons. I pay half of the mortgage, utilities, food, maintenance, and personal necessities. We both pay for our own insurance, car loans, and gas. Abby, there are 4 of them and 1 of me. This means utilities and food are used more by them than by me. I'm always after the boys to turn off the lights when not in use and to shut the doors after entering and leaving the house. We live in Arizona, so you can imagine electric bills during the summer, especially in a very large home. Because Gabe earns more money than I do, I have tried talking to him about the cost. I feel he should pay a higher percentage. Each time I give him the monthly amount that I spent. He then goes through it with a fine-tooth comb and pays only what he thinks he should pay for. We argue about it every single month. It's driving me nuts, and the upfront costs are breaking me. Please advise. Signed, Paying More Than Enough. Dear Paying, that Gabe earns more than you do should have been taken into consideration at the time you began living with him and his grandsons. Financial counseling might help you to determine what such an adjustment would mean in terms of dollars. The National Foundation for Credit Counseling is a reliable resource. Because these monthly financial disagreements could erode your relationship, please consider couples counseling in order to work out a plan that is fair for all parties concerned. Here's the next letter. Dear Abby, I'm having problems dealing with the death of my fiancé, who died by suicide 10 months ago. I blame myself partly for his death. While I realize I didn't buy the medicine that killed him, I did move out of the house we shared because of his attitude toward me. I can't seem to come to terms with his death. I feel responsible because I left the home we shared. I'm seeing a counselor, but I'm not making the progress I was wishing I could. Do you have any advice for me and others who've gone or going through this? Signed, Spiraling in Florida. Dear Spiraling, please accept my sympathy for the loss of your fiancé. When someone dies by suicide, survivors are often shocked and traumatized. You didn't mention if your fiancé suffered from depression, job loss, a physical ailment, or some other condition that may have caused him to act out. If he was abusive to you, you did the right thing by moving out. This is nothing to feel guilty for. I'm glad you're receiving counseling. Many survivors have been helped by talking things through with a licensed psychotherapist. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, established in 1987, lists worldwide suicide bereavement support groups as a public service to loss survivors. It can be accessed at afsp.org. Please don't wait to reach out. That story was Dear Abby, Partner Paying More to Support Man's Grandsons by Jean Phillips. The next story is ex-FIFA President Sepp Blatter joins those calling for boycott of World Cup in United States by the Associated Press. Former FIFA President Sepp Blatter on Monday backed a proposed fan boycott of World Cup matches in the United States because of the conduct of President Donald Trump and his administration at home and abroad. Blatter was the latest international soccer figure to call into question the suitability of the United States as a host country. He called for the boycott in a post on X that supported Mark Pieth's comments in an interview last week with the Swiss newspaper Der Bund. Pieth, a Swiss attorney specializing in white-collar crime and an anti-corruption expert, chaired the Independent Governance Committee's oversight of FIFA reform a decade ago. Blatter was president of the world's governing body for soccer from 1998 through 2015. He resigned amid an investigation into corruption. In his interview with Der Bund, Pieth said, quote, "If we consider everything we've discussed, there's only one piece of advice for fans. Stay away from the USA. You'll see it better on TV anyway. And upon arrival, fans should expect that if they don't please the officials, they'll be put straight on the next flight home. If they're lucky." In his X post, Blatter quoted Pieth and added, "I think Mark Pieth is right to question this World Cup." You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The United States is co-hosting the World Cup with Canada and Mexico from June 11th through July 19th. The international soccer community's concerns about the United States stem from Trump's expansionist posture on Greenland and travel bans and aggressive tactics in dealing with migrants and immigration enforcement protesters in American cities, particularly Minneapolis. Oki Gottlich, one of the vice presidents of the German Soccer Federation, told the Hamburger Morgenpost newspaper in an interview on Friday that the time had come to seriously consider boycotting the World Cup. Travel plans for fans from two of the top soccer countries in Africa were thrown into disarray in December, when the Trump administration announced an expanded ban that would effectively bar people from Senegal and Ivory Coast following their teams unless they already have visas. Trump cited, quote, "screening and vetting deficiencies" as the main reason for the suspensions. Fans from Iran and Haiti, two other countries that have qualified for the World Cup, will be barred from entering the United States as well. They were included in the first iteration of the travel ban announced by the Trump administration. That story was ex-FIFA president Sepp Blatter joins those calling for boycott of World Cup in United States by the Associated Press. The next story is The Blind Side actor Quentin Aaron on life support following scary fall by Danette Wilford. Quentin Aaron, who starred in the Oscar-winning film The Blind Side, is on life support after he was rushed to hospital last week following a fall at his home. The 41-year-old actor was walking up the stairs in his apartment when he lost the feeling in his legs, causing him to collapse, TMZ reported. His wife, Margarita Aaron, a registered nurse, told the outlet that he had been suffering from pain in his neck and back in the days leading up to the fall. Doctors at the Atlanta hospital determined he had a blood infection, with the actor having undergone tests to find the source. Aaron is partially breathing on his own, his wife said, though medical devices are helping keeping him alive. She shared Monday that he even opened his eyes today and gave a thumbs up. Fundraiser for his family. An update on a GoFundMe page that same afternoon also read, quote, "Quentin has opened his eyes and has some feeling in his foot. He is still on life support and going through tests. We are looking at quite a recovery time and will need a wheelchair when he is released while he goes through therapy to walk again." Veterans Aid Network, the nonprofit that organized the fundraiser, noted that donations will help the family with medical-related expenses, ongoing living costs, and his recovery. Quentin is one of the kindest, most genuine people you could ever meet. He shows up for others. He encourages, uplifts, and gives freely of himself, often without asking for anything in return. Today, he needs us to show up for him, the page read. In 2009's The Blind Side, the actor starred alongside Sandra Bullock, Tim McGraw, Lily Collins, Jay Head, and Kathy Bates. The movie was based on the true story of Michael Oher, a homeless boy who became an all-star football player and first-round NFL draft pick with the help of a caring woman and her family. The movie scored an Oscar nomination for Best Picture, with Bullock taking home the Best Actress trophy. Aaron has since appeared in other films and TV shows, including War Dogs, Blue Lightning, Bad Company, and Law & Order Special Victims Unit, and Gods of Medicine. There is a picture of Quentin Aaron as he attends the Caribou Africa Hampton Soiree on August 19, 2022. It's in Sag Harbor, New York, and he's wearing a blue and white, very brightly patterned shirt. He's got a black kind of fedora hat on. He's got a short beard and mustache, and he's smiling. Very white teeth. Photo courtesy of Sean Zanny via Getty Images for ACCF. That story was The Blind Side actor Quentin Aaron on life support following scary fall, by Danette Wilford. The next story is Rasmus Dahlin's fiancé reveals she lost baby during near-death medical scare, by Dan Balicki. It turns out that the health scare involving the fiancé of Buffalo Sabres captain Rasmus Dahlin was even more heartbreaking than initially known. Carolina Matavak has revealed that she was pregnant at the time of her medical emergency, which required a heart transplant, and lost the baby. In an Instagram post on Monday, Matavak explained that the couple's unborn child played a vital role in discovering her heart failure. She shared that Monday was her due date and included a photo of herself and Dahlin being transported to a hospital in France at the time of the ordeal during the summer getaway. "Today was meant to be the day we finally met you," Matavak wrote. "You will always hold a special place in our hearts as our first baby, even though we never had the chance to meet. Our love for you is endless. Though you didn't get to experience this world, you played a vital role in ensuring that I could continue to be a part of it. If it weren't for my worries about you, we might never have called for help and gone to the hospital. Because of that decision, I was in the right place at the right time during my first heart failure. This is just one of the many reasons I'm alive today, able to embrace a normal life once again. You are our hero, and I hope you're being well cared for in heaven. We love you, baby Matavak Dahlin." Dahlin and Matavak got engaged last year after being together for more than a decade. What did they say about her heart transplant? She remained on life support for weeks after undergoing the heart transplant, which Dahlin shared through a letter posted by the Sabres on social media in September. In the letter, which is addressed to the hockey and Buffalo communities, Dahlin shares the story of what occurred during a trip to France. "I want to share with you a traumatic experience that my fiancée, Carolina, and our families experienced this off-season," he wrote. "While on vacation in France early this summer, Carolina began to feel sick for a few days, which quickly turned into her experiencing major heart failure. Fortunately, she received CPR on multiple occasions, and up to a couple of hours at a time to keep her alive, which ultimately saved her life. Without her receiving life-saving CPR, the result would have been unimaginable. It is hard to even think about the worst-case scenario. She was transferred to a hospital where she remained on life support for weeks before she was a beneficiary of a heart transplant while still in France. Dahlin expressed his and Matevak's utmost gratitude for everyone involved in helping them through the ordeal, including nurses, doctors, and rehab staff at the hospital center of Antibes Juan Lépine, Hospital Universitaire de Marseille, sorry about that, the Sahlgrenska Hospital in Gothenburg, and the Hosbo Rehabilitation Center. How well is Dahlin playing? Dahlin is playing in his 8th season with the Sabres, but has yet to reach the playoffs with the team. That can change this year, however, with the Sabres currently sitting in 3rd place in the Atlantic Division, with a record of 29-17-5 heading into Tuesday night's game against the Maple Leafs in Toronto. So far this season, Dahlin has 8 goals and 29 assists for 37 points in 47 games. He has been named to Sweden's roster for next month's Winter Olympics in Milano, Cortina, Italy. There is a picture of Buffalo Sabres captain Rasmus Dahlin. He's with his fiancée Carolina Matevak. She is laying down in a bed wearing a hospital gown. She's got a monitor on her finger. She's wearing an oxygen mask and is looking at the camera. She has her dark hair pulled back and big brown eyes. And Rasmus is wearing a baseball cap backwards. He's got very light-colored strawberry blonde hair and blue eyes, and he's wearing a mask over his face. Photo courtesy of Instagram. That story was Rasmus Dahlin's fiancée reveals she lost baby during near-death medical scare, by Dan Balicki. The next story is Support and Criticism as People Line Up to Sign Separatist Petition in Calgary, by Hiran Mansikani. A group pushing for Alberta to separate from Canada officially began collecting signatures in Calgary on Monday, seeking to put the issue to provincial voters. Meanwhile, NDP leader Naheed Nenshi denounced the effort by Alberta Prosperity Project for the province to become its own country, imploring citizens considering their support to the movement to take the potential consequences seriously, while citing the example of Brexit. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. What we saw the day after the Brexit referendum was a number of voters who said, "Whoa, had I known it was going to win, I wouldn't have voted for it. I was just trying to send a signal," he said during a news conference Monday. If you believe that, with all its bruises and faults, this is still the greatest country on earth. If you believe in honoring memories of people who fought and died for this country, then we've got to take this seriously, and we've got to stand up seriously on the side of Canada. Hundreds of people filed into the Big Four building on Monday afternoon to sign the petition. The line looped around the building. However, the queue quickly faded once the doors opened. It's not the way it used to be, says petition supporter. Among those lined up was Joseph Kostash, who said he is frustrated with affordability woes hurting Albertans. "You can't afford a house," he said. "You have 30 to 40-year-olds living in their parents' basements." He says he believes separating from Canada will allow Alberta to keep the money it pays to the federal government in income taxes that are then distributed to provinces based on a formula called equalization, which accounts for the needs of each province. Quote, "We wouldn't have to pay the government all these equalization payments that go to Quebec," he said. "They're like parasites." He also mentioned the allure of lower taxes if Alberta became its own country. I personally pay $150,000 a year in income tax, which doesn't even include all the other taxes on food, fuel, housing, etc. It's crazy. And what do I get out of there? Bad health care, Kostash said. They're killing our oil and gas industry. Oil and gas production in Alberta hit an all-time high in 2025, according to the province's dashboard. You're bringing too many people into this country that live off our social programs, Kostash said. While the federal government granted temporary and permanent residence to an unprecedented number of people in 2022 and 2023, the ratio of immigrants using social assistance programs is 2 percentage points lower than that of average Canadians, according to an IRCC report. Meanwhile, the labor participation rate, those working or looking for employment, among recent male immigrants is higher than that of Canadian-born men, which has been found to ease workforce shortages in sectors including healthcare, construction, and agriculture. A TD report found that unemployment would have been higher had immigration rates been curtailed during the pandemic. It's not the way it used to be, Kostash said. And, yes, maybe I'm living in the past, but certain things should be changed. An opportunity for direct democracy, says another supporter. For Philip Goldsney, the petition is a sign of democracy and his ability to effect change. This is an opportunity for direct democracy, where you get a chance to sign a petition or have a plebiscite on what you feel about a certain matter, he said. I like the idea that if we get enough people to hold a plebiscite, the wishes of Albertans will be heard. I believe Alberta has been given a really raw deal in Confederation for 100 and some years, since 1905, I guess. And just the way equalization calculations go, we see so many billions of dollars go down east or to Ottawa. And when Ottawa curtails what Alberta can do as far as resources and getting its oil and gas to Tidewater, things like that, I'm not happy with that. Bill C-48, the federal tanker ban off the BC coast, has been criticized in Alberta for interfering with expanded access for crude oil to Asian markets. Goldsney said he views the plebiscite as a tool for a better deal. I feel it's a way of having some leverage to make decisions the way we want them to be done, he added. Premier Smith playing both sides, says Nenshi. Jeffrey Rath, the lawyer for Alberta Prosperity Project, told media on Monday that his vision for a free Alberta is a country where one doesn't pay income tax. While parrying questions from reporters about his group's desire to join the U.S., he said, "When you see how well off we are in Alberta without having to pay any income tax, why would you want to join a country where you have to pay income tax?" He said in his meetings with U.S. officials, he refused to identify them. They have said it's a non-starter. They want a free and independent Alberta, and they want to free the Alberta oil. And, the oil resource, from control by the communist Chinese domination of Ottawa. Premier Danielle Smith has repeatedly said she wants a, quote, sovereign Alberta within a united Canada, and has defended the petition as a way for people to exercise their democratic rights. They, separatist Albertans, want a new relationship with Canada, and that's what I'm doing, she said during her latest radio show. I'm forging a new relationship with Canada. We've got a new leader, we've got a new prime minister, we've got an MOU, which is a Memorandum of Understanding on Energy Issues, and we seem to have common cause on trying to get a new pipeline built. Nenshi countered the claims, saying Smith is playing both sides. She's trying to pander to separatists, while telling non-separatists, the vast majority of Albertans, that she stands with them, he said. And when you try to play both sides, sometimes you stand with neither. There's a picture of Jeffrey Rath with the Alberta Prosperity Project. He is speaking during a press conference at Hotel Arts in Calgary, Monday, May 12, 2025. He is sitting on a stool with his arms crossed. He's wearing a black shirt and a tan cowboy hat. And there is a big poster next to him that says, "Do you agree that the province of Alberta shall become a sovereign country and cease to be a province of Canada?" And in big letters underneath, it says yes with the box or no with the box, and yes is marked. Photo courtesy of Gavin Young via Post Media. That story was Support and Criticism as People Line Up to Sign Separatist Petition in Calgary by Hiran Mansukhani. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the January 27th issue of the Toronto Sun. Your reader has been Melanie Guralnick. Thank you for listening.